a term I had never heard before, and it's instinctive elaboration. And what that is when you ask a question, we've all had this happen. If someone asks you a question, it is impossible not to think about it.
Right.
And that's a really powerful thing to learn about somehow our cognitive inheritance. Because it means if you give yourself a prompt and then rage about it, it's like your mind can't help but go there. And just recently, I used this instinctive elaboration when I felt overwhelmed, not in the same level of destabilization, but a very intense last 30 days. There was a family wedding, there's been funerals, there's been, the holidays, Christmas, 2 birthdays, and that's just the normal, that's just high level some of the stuff that's been going on. So it's been this, really intense period. And I remember one time I was sitting down, my journal is finished, it's over the holidays, so I can't, and there's so much going on, I was like, I can't just go and grab another one. I thought I had extras, and I didn't have it. And I really felt strangely stuck. Of course, there's so many possible solutions, but when you feel frozen or stuck with things, you're not thinking in that creative way. And so I literally used like an AI tool, and I sort of raged into that, like answering this question, what is going on? Just download the what is happening in your life. And I like this structure of what, so what, now what. What is happening? Let's just get it out. And then once I look at it, okay, so now what's the news? What does this mean? Because we're all meaning makers, and destabilizing experiences, what they're really doing is they're messing with our sense of meaning and orientation. And so then now what is, well, what do I do about it? And I just downloaded, like I literally recorded it and then sent the recording and was like, okay, what do you make of that? And I didn't really expect that much from it, but the restate it gave me back was so helpful. It really put my life in perspective and helped me go, oh, of course, that's why you're feeling all of these things. And it even gave me some quite, I would say, reasonably advanced suggestions of what to do.
So you uploaded the audio file?
Yeah, that's right.
What tool did you use?
Just GPT.
Okay. That's a good experiment, because that's something you can do kind of in between, right? If I'm walking around here,
that's right,
I could just let it rip, and there's no
that's right
downside to it.
I've done it a couple of times. Here's a good little prompt to give to that is, I didn't do it this last time, but I've asked it before to respond as Carl Rogers would. Carl Rogers was the psychotherapist who really, more than anyone else, introduced into therapeutic processes the idea of powerful, deep, empathic listening. I mean, actually, there's been 2 studies that were done about Rogerian psychotherapy. One, I think, in like 1980 something, and then again in like 2000 something. I can find the links. That found that psychologists the questionnaire was sent both times, a huge number of psychologists. Who's the most influential psychologist in psychotherapy? And both times they identified Carl Rogers as the most influential in their view and in their practice. And I think that's pretty amazing because, Freud and so on gets a lot more attention. But in practice, what works is what Carl Rogers did. And so, and of course, what he's saying is similar to what we've been talking about. He says, if someone would really listen to me, he says, whenever someone really listens to me, I find that in the process, my life starts to make more sense. The dots start to connect for me. And it's not that they're trying to do that for me. It's just the nature of the process of being deeply listened to. And so he was the one that sort of really invented the language of empathic restating and brought that into practice. And the whole idea, I think, is that you are delayering the stuff that isn't the real issue.
You're right.
Whereas in what normally happens in conversation, even everyday conversation, is somebody says something and people just immediately give advice. I mean, just instantly. They have no idea what's going on inside of you. You don't even know what's going on inside of you. And yet they're already giving advice and suggestions and adding confusion and I think often a lot of stress and a sense of judgment and all of those things. Whereas in what he found was that if you would listen deeply enough, and he said it takes a lot of courage to do this, And he said, most of us cannot do it. We just don't have the courage to listen like this. But if we are, and we restate back to them and we just keep doing it, we'll go deeper and deeper to the central issues. And people, is a sense of like people in the end kind of almost heal themselves because they start to understand what's happening inside of them. Well, I've played around with using GPT to construct that backwards and forwards relationship, communication. And actually, I found it to be fairly advanced at being able to do it.
Amazing.
I think it can be a very helpful tool.